Welcome to the Off Tackle with John Fina show on the Overreaction Sports Network. Well, what is going on, everybody? Welcome, everybody, into the Off Tackle with John Fina show on the Overreaction Sports Network, powered by Believe. My name is Joe Miller. That guy over there is former Buffalo Bills offensive tackle for 10 years, John Fina, former first-round pick of the Buffalo Bills, John Fina. John, it is so good to see you. You can find John on Twitter at John Fina. He would love to have you follow him. He's a great follow. He interacts. He likes to have conversations. He'll find you on just in his timeline and just like chat you up and make jokes and be funny. It's great. John's the best. But please do us a favor. Please like, please subscribe. Whatever platform you are consuming this podcast, vidcast, whatever it is on, please like, please subscribe. Also, please note that if you ever miss a minute of shows from us, as far as just the content that we're putting out, and you're in the car, you can find us on any podcast channel that you effectively, whether it's Apple, Amazon, Spotify, whatever you listen to podcasts on, we are there. Just search Overreaction Buff. You can also find us on all social medias, including Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, just about everything that's out there. So, but it's so good to have every single one of you guys joining us. The Buffalo Bills, as we know, have moved to 7-2 after defeating the Miami Dolphins yesterday in a glorious day in Buffalo, New York, Orchard Park, New York at Highmark Stadium. And John, we're going to talk a little bit about it, and then we're going to break some plays down. What are you laughing about? Did I miss something?
Look at the comment. Hey, thanks everybody for joining the comments. Tracy, Richard Rush, Scott McCulloch. Oh, we're doing great here, man. It is Victory Monday.
So I go in on Santa Claus. I go in on Santa Claus last night, and so an Amex's husband now shows up to give me a hard time, apparently.
As he should.
Scott, love you, buddy.
Yes, love you, Scotty.
Yes, welcome to everybody that is in the comment section. We appreciate you guys joining us live here on the Off Tackle with John Fina show. John, how you've rewatched the game? You've gone through some all 22. I know you've got some plays for us that we're going to break down, but before we get to that, at first blush yesterday in the postgame show, the feeling between you and Jerry was we had some trouble on the defensive front, the defensive line yesterday. Have you confirmed that? Have you walked back from that a little bit? Where you at on just what you saw?
Well, you can't walk it back. I mean, it was obvious just by, the way the Dolphins put together sustained drives. They did a lot of it through the run, and they were creasing us pretty well. We've all agreed, the three of us and many of our fans and many of the Buffalo fans have just settled on, we're going to play a nickel D. We're going to give up runs. We're going to fight, from the 30 in on both sides of the ball, but we aren't going to fight between the 30s. I don't love it. I do think that they've been really creative and successful with the pressures they brought in the past. This game seemed to lack some pressure, and I think that's the Waddle and Hill effect, right? You don't want to get those guys in open space. So this was going to be the game where they played shell, they played soft, and we were going to tighten up once they got close to the red zone. It worked, Joe. It worked. It's hard to watch, man, and I get the verklempt as it's going on. But it worked. And in the end, when you beat the Dolphins, and I'm a huge anti-Dolphinist, I mean, I look for dolphin unsafe tuna when I go to the store. That's a joke. I don't care how you get it done. You got it done. But you can't sit by and not look at it. So today, I typically review offensive plays from our beloved Buffalo Bills. Today, I'm going to pick a couple of plays, 3 of them, in fact, from Miami, and just showed you why they were successful and for a variety of reasons. And in the end, right, we're still 7-2, and they're like 2-40.
It's not great for them. Their season is pretty much over, despite their head coach coming out and saying, I think we're playing our best football, which they did play a very good football game yesterday. The Dolphins did. I think there's a little bit of disillusionment. That's the second time I used that word yesterday too. Disillusionment from them, in as much as a lot of their fan base is like, this game showed us that we're not that far apart from the Bills. Like we can play with the Bills. And to me, I think almost every season, it seems like there's a game where the Bills rout them And then there's a game where the Dolphins play them close, whether it's the first or second game or the playoff game or whatever. But it always feels like the Dolphins are kind of who they are, and the Buffalo Bills just match up well against them. And this game kind of
I
go ahead.
agree with that point, Joe. I do agree with that point. But what I will disagree, not with you, but generally speaking, and I saw a great take. I'm not sure if it was Jerry O last night or on Twitter today or on X. They played pretty damn well, and we did not, and we won the game. And we didn't look like a complete disaster meltdown. So I think that does show a greater amount of separation between these two teams than the reflection of the score yesterday.
Yeah, I agree with that too. It's as much as the Bills, and we've talked about it. It was I watched the game back today. It was said on the broadcast, and we've seen it in other places as well. And you guys agreed too that the Bills did not do a very good job of finding rhythm, even outside of rhythm. They scored 30 points. They scored 30 points in this football game, right? And special teams came to play. When you look at the coverage that they had, the couple of tackles that Cam Lewis made to kind of light them up. The return, there was the one return that we had on the punt. There was just a lot of, they played solid football with some, while getting beat on the defensive line in some run areas. They held that passing game, I think, I want to say, in check, right? While starting Kaiir Elam, who covered Jalen Waddle. And I think the one catch that Jalen had, or I think he had two, but his first catch wasn't even on Kaiir Elam. And they held Tyreek in check. It was, I think the Bills, to your point, played a very, very good football game. And at the same time, I feel like we were lucky to come out of it with the dub, but that's how football goes.
And I say two things to that, Joe.
You froze on me.
I say
so
luck counts.
So John is freezing on me. So you're is that me or is that John? I can't tell.
That's you,
I think
buddy.
it's John.
I'm here. I feel like I'm not frozen. Nope.
I don't know if it's me or if it's him.
I think it's you,
somebody
Joe.
in the comments section. There you're back.
All right.
What were you going to say?
I thought it was you, but I'll say two things that I always say. Luck counts, right?
Yes.
And luck is the residue of skill.
Oh, he's freezing.
You're freezing. Doug Auge hears me. And then Tom says it's you, but he didn't say you, Joe, or you, Fina. So, Tom, could you be a little bit more specific? Help us out, Tom.
I'm waving. I always keep a live window of YouTube open, and I'm leaning back and rocking back and forth to see if I'm the one that's freezing or not.
Yeah, well, look, it's definitely Joe, is what we're hearing. I don't know if you can hear me now, Joe.
Oh, dang it. Yes, I can hear you now. So, yes, please continue. Luck, not skill. And if you lose me, just keep going.
I can talk, man. People are typically trying to muzzle me. So it's disinformation and misinformation. I'm trying to be silenced. Usually it's by you and Jerry O. But I'll say this. Luck is the residue of skill and hard work, right? The harder I work, the luckier I seem to get. So it's hard to win a football game, but there's a metric that I come back to for this game in particular, where the Buffalo Bills had 9 drives. They had 9 drives and they scored on 6 of them. They'd have scored a touchdown on one of the 6. We ended up with a field goal because of some pretty poor performance by the black and whites, right? But 6 out of 9 drives scoring is pretty good quality. We want to convert those field goals to touchdowns, but we'll take what we can get.
Gotcha. Very good. Well, let's without any further ado, as people like to say, let's jump into some of these plays that you got for us, Big John.
Yeah. So in the second quarter, the Bills had the Dolphins backed up at the -2 yard line. We say -2 because the ball's on the Dolphins side of the field. The +2 would be, them about to score on us, if people don't know that reference. So this is 2nd and 9 from the -3. And Mostert. Is it Raheem Mostert?
Raheem, yep.
Raheem rips off, and by the way, love that guy. I mean, I hate to say it, but he is something else. And I'm losing my ability to rewind this play for some reason. I don't understand. I don't have the cursor. Joe, I think it's our images that are there. But I'm going to have to replay it a couple times. So we're at the -3.
What do you want?
There you go. We run weak zone. And what happens here really Daquan just gets rolled by the double team. But curiously, if you run it back, our linebackers, they are over pursuing on the fake. You got I formation, you've got a blocker coming across, you're running zone weak, basically isolation, and our linebackers over pursue by 2 steps. And 2 steps, you're thinking, what the hell? What difference does that make? 2 steps is a lifetime in this game. So really, it is Terrell Bernard who needs to step up in that backside gap right there and fill, actually the play side gap and fill, but he's out of position already just by over pursuing. Doesn't help that Daquan gets pressed and, the ball gets bent back and he just rips it right through that gap. Biggest problem here, Daquan Jones went from the 3-yard line to about the 7. So this was a terrific play on execution by them. We over pursued a little bit. We weren't stout at the point of attack.
Right.
It looks pretty tight. We need somebody to come off a block. Taron Johnson actually does a great job coming up on the fullback and taking the outside shoulder and maintaining his gap. But look at Terrell in that frame right there. He's 2 steps out of position.
Yep. And you see Taron Johnson jump into that gap. Obviously, he takes one of the blockers, and then Mostert sneaks in right behind him, which is where Terrell Bernard is supposed to be. By the way, the controls will be right across your chest, the blue line right across your chest, and there's the play and pause button that is all the way to the left if you want to try to take control again.
Yeah, it didn't show up for me.
Yep.
So that's one. I wanted to focus on what they did well because the Dolphins ran the ball on us pretty good.
So was it a situation with Daquan Jones getting pushed back 6 or 7 yards, the double team on him, or was it just that he tried to make a move, twist his body sideways, which just made him vulnerable to both those guys just shoving him down?
No, that's a good question. I think mostly that was point of attack, right? He did not get off the ball. And Daquan, I love the guy. I think he's a good football player. He seems to be this season kind of hitting peaks and valleys.
Right.
Where I've been watching him all season, and sometimes he comes off the ball like a rocket. And, we hang our guys out to dry a little bit in our scheme, and you really have to be play after play a monster at the point of attack. He either didn't get a fit with his hands or he was too high, but I mean, there's big dollars at stake. So you gotta bring your A game every play. And that's hard to do, man. It is hard to do.
Yeah, it's staying up for every game. You almost got to find bulletin board material, right?
Right. And look, the Dolphins hit us between the tackles quite a bit yesterday. And I wanted to show this because I'm a big fan of, and I talk about it with James Cook all the time, expanding the defense, right? Getting to the edge. And it's hard to get to the edge in this league because, guys are just so fast. They're so big, so talented. But I want to bring this up. This is 1st and 10, same drive, second quarter. This is zone strong. And this is a little bit of, Joe Miller kind of talk here. And Joe, I don't have the controls. You're gonna have to control it for me.
So what you've got a mouse over the pictures. If I do,
they're not sure. There you go. That helps me a great deal, I think.
Are you using a mouse or a touchpad?
Touchpad, baby.
Yeah, that's why you're having trouble.
Well, I've always done it this way.
Yeah.
All right, go back. You're going to run the film for me. Zone strong. Now, Taron Johnson is lined up over the left tackle and the tight end. And here's a difference, right? And we're going to play nickel. Don't tell me we're going to bring in the linebacker in because we're just not going to do it.
Right.
But linebackers have a tendency to have a feel for the crack block. So Taron, great player that he is really focused on the flow. And he doesn't see out of his periphery the crack coming. Right? The down block, the crack block, whatever you want to call it. And that just creates a seam. And look, I'm just kind of giving you guys a little bit of a taste of how I watch film. So we're going to have a combination block from the center and the left guard up to, I think would be Terrell Bernard. And we have a combination block between the tackle and the tight end on, it's either Dorian or Terrell. And the tight end hooks, the left tackle hooks, and we get the crack on Taron Johnson. And now we're in a situation where we're on full safety support, almost life support. Taron recovers off of his block and is able to confirm that it gets pushed out of bounds. But this is what we talk about. Between the 30s, we seem to want to allow this kind of stuff. And look, I don't like Mike McDaniel. not because there's anything to dislike about him. He's a really good coach. He's a really good schemer. And this scheme really took advantage of our personnel and the fact that they were running through the middle of our defense and gave us a little bit of a change up.
And then popped one outside and caught him by surprise.
That's right.
Yeah, because you can kind of see in that one shot, that one frame, that they are filling their gaps, right? So there, I mean, as far as that goes, like this gap is closed. Did he bounce that outside to the left because it looks like
No,
Bernard
this
is
play is designed to go
go
left. So this
outside?
is wide zone, and you could tell by the technique of the left tackle. But beyond that, when Tua pitches the ball, it's
Right.
a turn and run situation. And we were doing a little bit of a lag technique, a shuffle technique on the backside. And then
Mhm.
once we saw that pitch, we should have been off to the races because between freaking Mostert and a chain, I mean, those guys are just fantastic running backs.
Yes,
They're hard to stop, Joe. They're hard to stop.
A-Chain is frustrating because he's so good. I hate that the Dolphins have him. So
I hate that they have both of them. So I gave Mike McDaniel a compliment. You know, I don't really love to do
you
that,
like his
but
pants. You like his pants and
I
his
do
shoes.
love it. He's got great pants, man. I don't know what to say.
You just popped it out.
Yeah. So this is a really, really cool play. Oh no, the next one, Joe. I want to go to the next one.
Not the one first and 10 power play. You want to go to the Deion snatch play?
No, I want to go to power reverse.
That was the one
Unless
you had up. That was one you had up.
I uploaded the wrong play. All
Oh,
right.
gotcha.
Maybe I can do that at the break. Do we have a break?
We do
Let's move
not
on.
have a break. So, well, we actually didn't do our read, but you'll be trapped doing the read. So I don't know that
I don't
helps the
consider that
situation.
being trapped.
No,
All right. So this is the Dion snatch play that everybody's getting all excited about. And I can address this. I think it's holding. All right. You grab a guy by the V of the pads, you grab a guy anywhere and you tug him to the ground. It's a hold. Maybe, just maybe, run it back again. They've changed the rule. We talk about this block all the time and oh, it's such great skill. That's holding. I'm sorry. But beyond that, run it back to the line of scrimmage, Joe. We're on the 16-yard line. We're on the 11-yard line. This is my overall point. And this is where football rules are just crazy. If you commit holding, as Dion does here, you're staring a 10-yard penalty in the face, right? But if I'm a corner and I slip and trip and I give up an inside release, if I tackle the guy, I give up 5.5 yards. It doesn't make any sense. The rule should be you can only go as far backwards as you're able to go forward. Now, maybe this kind of stops this technique from occurring, but I mean, the umpire was staring right at it. To me, it's a hold. I just don't like how the yards are assessed.
how so this is just so what do I want to say? So the amount of overwhelming voices that came out on social media from a national standpoint to include Duke Preston, former Buffalo Bills offensive lineman, after you and Jerry were Buffalo Bills, basically said, I don't see a hold on this play at all. And I hear you talk often about being aggressive with your hands and swatting hands down and getting that punch in. It looks to me like he just literally swats the guy's hands down and the dude falls over. Chop Robinson loses his balance and falls face forward. And Dion doesn't push him down. He's literally standing over him because the dude's between his legs, and Dion kind of waddles his way out of from being on top of him right there. Like you see him kind of like get out of his way. How is this explained to me, I guess, how this is a hold?
Well, he's got his hands on the V of the neck, Joe. I don't know what you're looking at, but he's got both of his hands up inside beneath his face mask, and he backs up a little bit to create the space, but he yanks him. It's holding. You know, if you yank a guy from a lateral position inside or outside, your hand is out in space, they call that a hold. And look, I'm an offensive lineman. I would love for this to be legal, right? I think the angle that the official had, the grab that Dion had, it's pretty clear to me that this is holding.
So when they talk about inside of structure, do his hands have to be underneath?
It's not so no. His hands are fine if he's going to stand him up and leverage him and sit, right? Squat and sit, he's fine. But the action, the motion of pulling him down, and you watch Dion's hands,
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, he practically
Rips him.
touches the turf.
Yeah, he rips him down.
I mean, I'm not going to argue that call. I think it's holding.
Gotcha.
I mean, I don't love that they called it on my guy, and everybody knows I love Dion, even though Holy smokes, his technique sometimes absolutely makes me crazy.
You are well versed in making that statement on this
Yeah.
show for sure.
Yeah.
You want to look at this last one then?
Why not? Let's bring it up. And this is a really cool rub. Freeze it right here. Now, I don't have the sideline copy of this, but what you have is trips right, which is our left on the screen,
Mhm.
and twins to the left, which is to our right on the screen. We're going to run bubble here. But we have seen what Deion Dawkins does in the open field to the little guys,
Right.
and it's absolutely delicious, right? I mean, it is just unspeakably beautiful. So what do? We say, let's take the big guy who's got great feet and he's got an eye for the little guys. Let's change the bubble up a little bit. We'll let the defensive end run. We'll let Rocket Arm get the ball out to our guy who is covered in beef tallow and escapes every tackle. And just give him a chance to be the miracle man that he is. This is exactly what happened. This is a great variation on the bubble. We get a big guy in space. Now, you look and say, all right, well, the tackle was nearly made by the linebacker.
Mhm.
And you have to take that into consideration on every play. You just cannot block everybody, especially when you consider that one guy is your quarterback. And so they have really 11 against 10. But we're saying in this position, Shakir is a special guy. Let's give him the ball and see if he can do something wicked with it. And he sure does. Great block by Edwards, and he breaks a tackle. It's a great variation on a concept. And in this case, I like it because everybody knows I'm not a fan of the low number guys making blocks out in space, right? They
Right.
just
Right.
aren't as good at it. So let's take the freight train and run it down the tracks and see what we can do.
I think the most impressive thing for me for this play in particular is we've watched the Bills suffer trying to run these bubble screens forever because the wide receiver, generally speaking, last year was Stephon Diggs, would get the ball where Shakir would get it. So hypothetically, if you're going to run this back, and I got to get it to a spot where it's not blurry. So if Shakir's Diggs and it's blurry, he's got the ball. And then like as soon upon catching the football last year specifically and earlier this year, these two defenders like our guys are whiffing on these blocks, and it's just nice to see that the blocks are happening. Although, is Deion Dawkins committing a bit of a block in the back in this? Or
No. If you look at the point of impact, he's in front. And I was just about
so
to
he spins.
I
So
was
so
just
the
about to
defender spins.
describe to you why you bring a big body guy out there like that and you run him downhill at a little guy. Those little guys will likely displace themselves a little bit further because they don't want to
Oh
get
yeah, I got it.
trucked,
Yep, I just
right?
saw it. Yep,
So
yep.
he's taking a little bit more of an edge. If this were Mac Hollins, the defender might front him up and kind of, read play him out, shed him to one side or the other. We get a very good block by either Knox or Kincaid on the edge.
I think it's
It's a
Kincaid.
really cool variation.
Yeah, very good, very good. No, that's sweet. I love it. I love the success that the Bills are starting to have with these bubble screens, these wide receiver screens, and whatnot, just because we have been so poorly executing them for the last, I don't even know, since as far back as I can potentially remember. Before we finish up the show, why don't you tell the folks a little bit about our sponsor, Big Bear Barbecue?
Well, are you kidding me? I mean, who in Bill's Mafia doesn't think they love to barbecue? They don't love their rubs? Heck yeah, they do. Well, where are you going to get your rubs, Joe? Where are you going to get a variety of rubs that you have never seen before, other than the Big Bear Barbecue Supplies in Depew at 425 French Road? That's in Depew, right next to Antoinette's on Transit Road. Come on in, talk to Mean Joe Green. He'll walk you through all the supplies. I got news for you, Joe. I would go if I was there and I would scream my own name. I would get 10% off and I would get a door prize, but I'm not there. So, hey, Bill's Mafia, Overreaction fans, go in there, muck it up with Joe, talk about barbecue. You're going to find stuff that you don't see anywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
Go bust through that door. I got a little bit right here. This is the Hardcore Carnivore Camo Rub. I've got beef ribs in my Orion smoker. I'm doing lamb tonight.
Ooh.
Pictures to follow. And Joe, I'll let you know a little secret. When the Bills play football, and I'm getting super anxious, I go to the kitchen. I can see the TV in a distance, and I do meal prep. And I'm rubbing the Big Bear product, the camo, all over these beef ribs because I'm so anxious.
That's funny.
So if you guys get anxious, if you want to decompress after a Bills game, go to the Big Bear Barbecue Supplies in Depew, New York at 425 French Road. Bills Mafia, Overreaction Buffalo fans, scream Joe Miller, get 10% off and a door prize. Love you guys.
So the hardcore rub that you show that, hold that up again. They also have black, and Joe was out of the black. That's what I have. The black is unbelievable.
He was out of the black. Did you hear that? You guys got to get over there. He runs out of stuff.
The only play
game and lamb. So I'm doing
did you taste it?
And I'm doing lamb. I just drink it, Joe. I'm just like,
So the hardcore, you can only get the hardcore in Buffalo from Joe. So just so everybody knows as far as that goes. But yes, head on over to Big Bear Barbecue Supply Store, the only barbecue supply store in Buffalo that is not a hardware store. And I think that's the easiest way to say it, right? That's where we all kind of go, is the hardware store, because they got the best selection, unless you're in Depew.
Unless you're in Depew.
Unless you get someplace, unless you live close enough to Depew. So let's do this real quick. So the Buffalo Bills put Smoot on IR today for a wrist surgery that he is about to have. Keon Coleman has a wrist injury as well, and he's getting further testing, is what Sean McDermott said today. When you look at the Indianapolis Colts and going into Indianapolis this weekend, with the last couple minutes that we have here with the Mafia, talk about what you feel like. You go from the frying pan and into the fire when you're talking about Mostert and Achane, and then you've got, Jonathan Taylor coming downhill at you. The last time the Bills played the Colts wasn't that the game where he rushed for like 260 yards or something, that the Bills had no answer for him at all?
He's still icing his legs.
Yeah. So what, trying to catch his breath. So thoughts on what the Bills have to do to prepare for this next game, and then I'll get us out of here.
Well, man, I mean, I'd love to say get healthy, but I look, I worked out every part of my body, but I never did like wrist ups, right? I mean, I don't know how we're going to some prevention, a rash of wrist injuries. I mean, mark your calendar. This isn't going to happen, until your grandkids are fans, and your grandkids will be Bills fans. Look, I think you tend to see this type of response from quality teams. They didn't go into film today and say, oh yeah, we are fine, no big deal. So you rededicate yourself. I know, look, to us, it's a 17-game season, 18 with a bye week, but man, it is so the game itself and the pressure makes it so emotionally draining. And, you constantly are looking for things that will, refocus you. And we do this in our daily lives too, right? But we're not judged on 17 outings in what you do from 9 to 5 every day, right?
Correct. Correct.
So you're under the microscope. I think these guys, generally speaking, the thing that they can do is just, kind of reinvest. Scheme wise, I think this team with Flacco may be a little bit more susceptible to some pressure, right? I mean, they have good receivers. I don't think they have Miami Dolphin receivers. I would expect to see some A-gap pressure against Flacco. I would expect to see someone coming off the corner, rolling safeties over to cover, and see if we can pick something up off the like a corner cat, so to speak. Offensively, I like what we're doing. So I'm not going to come out and start judging this and that. We've seen a really cool variety of inside run, outside run. We've seen Josh play super smart football. You might see a little bit more downfield throws because we've been more, I don't want to say check down, but mid-range to longer mid-range throws, but nothing super down the field. But we might try to stretch them a little bit. Up front, we're healthy. On the offense, we're mostly healthy, and I think that really bodes well for this Colts game.
Yeah, it's going to come down to Keon's injury. Is Amari Cooper going to be back, right? So there's a lot to be said said there. The good news is if they have to, you almost feel like if they had to do it, they could put Ray Davis and Ty Johnson in the backfield and maybe split Cook out wide and let him run routes all game long. I know that's not necessarily ideal. He's not Thurman Thomas, right? Thurman Thomas was practically a wide receiver back in his day, along with guys like, LaDainian Tomlinson and just other guys like that kind of had that really Marshall Faulk that had that dual threat capability. But yeah, we need some guys to get healthy. What are you going to say?
I've said it before once, and I still, it's a little bit of a dream of mine to see us getting kind of a balanced front, and instead of having trips on one side and twins on the other, just bring two running backs into split running back formation. So Josh on his right has James Cook, and on his left has Ray Davis or Ty Johnson, and then you can motion either one of those guys out into space depending
Right.
on where the nickel coverage back is, and you can create an imbalance or a bad matchup if you move them both out. And then now a linebacker has got to cover Ray Davis or James Cook. I like that for a seam route. I like that quality for a wheel route. So, I'm looking forward to seeing a little bit more variation in that regard. I think Joe Brady's doing a terrific job overall.
Excellent. A great analysis, great breakdown. John, we thank you so much for everything that you bring to this show and your availability to us to listen to you and ask you questions. Ladies and gentlemen, what do we got going on? So tomorrow we have the On the Beat program. We are not going to have Ryan Talbot on. We have to reschedule him due to just a slight conflict. So I'm looking for a replacement. Tomorrow's going to be a big day. The trade deadline is tomorrow. There's a lot of speculation that a lot of trades around the NFL are potentially going to happen tomorrow. And there's speculation that Brandon Beane is going to have to make some moves. However, there isn't a lot of cap space or room for him to make moves. We'll do something, even if it's me, John, and Jerry, and we have to kind of come in and break down where the Bills are at 8 o'clock tomorrow night for On the Beat without a Bills beat reporter. We will keep you posted, but nevertheless, there should be a show. Wednesday, Hump Day Hotline with me and Jay Spence the King. Thursday, the Big O Show with Jerry Ostrowski. And Friday, If the Walls Could Talk. And then obviously 8 o'clock next Sunday, the Overreaction Postgame Show. Any final words, John Fina?
Well, I'm looking at the clock. I got to go get my beef ribs out of the Orion covered in this awesome rub. Pictures to follow. But beyond that, I would say go Bills.
We'll talk to you guys later. For me, for John, for Jerry. Love you guys. Go Bills.